All right, g'day. This is Carl. Welcome to the Belligerent Ticket podcast. I think this is about the third episode. So this week we're going to speak about a couple of things, but as always, got to try and push some of our product because that's just how we roll. We've got towels on special for $10 each, and Maritime stickers I think $3 or $4 with free postage. And the pineapple patches are on special half price for $5 each. So this week we'll see how much we can get through, but try and touch on a little bit of DVA stuff, maybe. Bit of the Land Forces conference. Talk about Rob Langdon's book again. Willie's Tyre Flip Challenge. Did get a question in on Instagram, so I'll find that and address that one. Breaking news on Pineapple Express. Maybe see if there's a story. Homeless initiative, and try and rep some veteran businesses. Alrighty. Alrighty. So I just went for an MRI day before, and it just reminded me I was reading a couple of pieces in the news a little while back about DVA. That's a fun subject for everyone, I'm sure. I did have some notes about it. I'll see if I can find it. But we're looking at where are we? No, can't find my notes anyway. Brilliant. Anyway, I was just going to speak about a couple of things about DVA, I guess, especially for people who are still in. And that would be to probably get your paperwork well and truly sorted before you get out. That would be a good idea. You can get all of your stuff recognised, go for compensation payouts, get your white card, gold card, whatever card, all that sort of stuff without it affecting your career, so to speak, or getting medically discharged and that sort of stuff. Obviously, double check with an expert and don't listen to me, but you can at least get your injuries and stuff recognised by DVA before you pull the pin, because it can get a little bit more difficult after you get out. And the other thing is you don't have the army paying you. So once you're out and you're working a job and you've got to do that all the time, you suddenly have a lot less time on your hands to chase it up. So I'll find my points next time and probably just put it into a blog post as a point by point plan. Certainly not a definitive list of things to do, but just a couple of tips from myself and a couple of mates who have been through the process and eventually made it out the other side. But going on from that, where are we? Just as an interesting point, well, actually there's a good piece on ABC News. If you Google bureaucratic bastardry, it's a piece on DVA with old mate from, looks like a X3RR dig, and basically his spine exploded, and yeah, he got into a bit of issues. But here we are. So this is on Contact Air, Land and Sea, piece written up by somebody, Brian Hardigan. And he raised an interesting point that I'd never thought about before, but you can get DVA funding for some issues, and I think mental health stuff is one where they give you cover, but essentially DVA and their payments, I don't think they've kept up with inflation. So basically, you're looking at like a gap type situation for some service providers, and therefore they're less willing to take a DVA payment because they're not getting paid as much. And for your average dig who might go, oh, well, I might pay the gap, I think that's an issue as well, where they're not allowed to accept payment, I believe. So might be a bit of an issue with shopping around to find a provider. And another interesting piece to look up, I should probably provide the links for these actually in the notes below. Another one on thenewdaily.com.au about DVA being accused of cooking the books to make it look better. And that's just with reporting discrepancies. So it might be a little bit of not so light reading for you there. Anyway, seeing as I can't find my point, so I'll move on to something else. BD went to the Land Forces Conference in Adelaide, and it was monumentally huge. It was good to get a look at some of the smaller businesses from around Australia getting in there and doing an exhibit. So there was like Omega Dev Group, Willie from Willie's Tire Flip. It was working behind the desk there, S8 products and Aussie Strength, stuff like that. They were there and it was good, besides all the huge ones like Boeing and others. Excuse me. But yeah, so got to see a look at some of the potential future of Army weapons, because you've got the Land 159, I think it is. So they're looking at potentially new small arms, rifles, pistols, etc. And got to look at a couple of cheeky offerings, such as the SR, not the 25, SR15, which look quite nice. Basically any AR platform with a magazine forward instead of rear in the bullpup design. I'm sure diggers would be keen on that sort of stuff. And I guess the average dig, if you're taking no interest in the direction that the Army is heading in, well, you know, I know you don't have a lot of sway in where the Army goes, but having absolutely no interest and no understanding of what's going on is probably not great for your situational awareness. But I guess I'd recommend, if you're ever able to get to one of these conferences in the future, it'd be good to have a look around. A little bit intimidating if you're going in uniform, because there was a shitload of brass there, but it was still good. Quite interesting to have a look. Moving on. Rob Langdon's book, Seventh Circle. I've spoke about it before. I'm going to speak about it again now, and probably speak about it again in the future. I've spoken to Rob a few times on social media now. Really solid dude, and basically his book is a great read, and you should check it out, especially if you're a serving infantry soldier and you'd like an idea of how the security contracting side of things works and how badly wrong it can go. It'll give you a bit of an idea, and it'll be a bit of an eye-opener, especially when you think about moving into hostile situations where you're not going to get the same sort of overwatch or support that you would have got in the Army. But yeah, the book is a great read, well paced, and it's got pictures in it. So if you're completely incapable of reading, at least you can flick through a couple of pictures in the middle. But definitely check out the book, Seventh Circle by Rob Langdon. Moving on, we've got Willie's Tire Flip coming up on the 23rd of October. I better check again. Bear with me. his Instagram handle is willie.beating.cancer. I think he's up to about 3,000 followers now, which is awesome. So he's definitely got some coverage there for people to see his fight against cancer. Also, if you go to his Instagram page, he's got a direct link to his GoFundMe, and he's looking to raise funds to combat brain cancer. All right, so Willie's answer to cancer, 27th of October, 10 a.m. From Largs Bay Jetty to Semaphore Jetty. If you Google Maps it, it's not super close. So it's going to be pretty decent effort on tyre flipping. So we need some people to turn up and help out. BD is going to provide one of the prizes. I'm not sure how he's going to draw the prizes, but we'll give out some PT gear on the day, I believe. But yeah, you should check it out, 27th of October. I think he's going to host a barbecue and some beers afterwards. If he wasn't going to be doing that, I guess I'm going to be trying to force him to do that anyway. But yeah, so it's going to be an awesome day. Come along, check him out. Now, after the last couple of podcasts, I did ask for questions or any sort of feedback really, and did get something from Benjamin on Instagram. And his question, well, his statement was, would love to see you guys cover something like the Australian Student Veterans Association, ASVA, on your podcast in the ongoing battle to get Australian universities to recognise time spent within defence, which is a registered training organisation. So, pull up the website. So ASVA's vision is a non-traditional students ex-Australian Defence Force. As non-traditional students ex-Australian Defence Force personnel have a lot to add to classroom discussions and can offer unique perspectives, yet these differences can also be quite challenging. Yes, you'll be seen as a weird adult, mature age students, something like that. So, I don't know, I guess that is challenging. ASVA would like to help student veterans overcome these challenges by establishing ASVA chapters at universities throughout Australia to provide a peer network for veterans on campus, interacting with other like-minded students on a daily basis. Man, I need to learn how to read. Interacting with other like-minded students on a daily basis will help student veterans regain that sense of camaraderie they had in the ADF. These built-in networks will greatly assist student veterans during the soldier-to-student transitioning process and will help mentor and motivate student veterans throughout their degrees. Just imagine the positive impact a population of educated veterans could have on our society. This is why ASVA wants to provide support, mentorship and a collaborative voice to the student veterans of Australia. Find us at Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. Cool. And their mission is to promote academic success, empowerment, and professional development, which is a good thing. So what do you want? Comment. Look, if you are going to uni, maybe you should consider checking out their website. It's asva.org.au and decide for yourself whether that is something you'd like to get involved in. I know some guys who get out of defence just want to make a clean break and wouldn't necessarily want to get involved with something like this. But for the people who do want to get involved, it might be really helpful for you. Where is he? Where's Benjamin? The other thing you raised, Benjamin, ongoing battle to get Australian universities to recognise time spent within defence, a registered training organisation. So Defence does conduct training and it does fulfil qualifications that line up with the Australian qualifications framework, the AQF. That is another federal department, I believe, and every training organisation in Australia has to fill in these guidelines. So that is why when you do, say, a first aid course with St John's a couple of years ago, and then you go back and it's changed, or the code that you had is now no longer current, that is because the AQF has, as they constantly do, has updated the requirements to fill that course code, or has made that old course code obsolete, and has now got a new one in. So they can be found at aqf.edu.au. So yeah, the Australian Army is a registered training organisation, and you can, strangely enough, get qualifications out of the Army. If you do your standard 4 years and get out, you may get out with a certificate 2 in government operations or something like that. If you stick it out and, well, you can do your JLC within 4 years, of course, but if you do your courses, SIOS did not matter so much. I think it has course codes now. The JLC has some codes within it, and then one of them you can, I think it's with Sergeant, so your sub 1, you could basically end up with a workplace trainer and assessor certificate, I believe it was. You just have to fill in a missing competency. That used to be the case anyway. I'm not sure what it's like now. Other things is, I think once you do enough of your career development stuff, you can end up with maybe a Cert 3, a Cert 4, or even a diploma. I guess the reason why Army doesn't transfer other codes across to Civilian Street, or people don't recognise them or something, is because Army is a huge employer, and every single person who is in the Army as an Army First Aider and AFA who's got a basic first aid qualification would then send probably St John's or someone else completely bankrupt, because they'd have no need to do first aid courses or get your CPR requalifications and that sort of thing. I don't know, something like that. But no, you're right. You don't, where is it? Benjamin. You're right, there is not much there that recognises time spent within defence. So after all that yammering, I agree with you, there isn't much there, and Australian universities are well within their rights to not recognise Defence Force experience, I suppose you would say. That cues entry into the market for other places like Clet and the hell are they called? Hang on. And the other one I was thinking of is hamel.edu.au, so hamel.edu.au. And these guys will look at doing recognition of prior learning for the stuff that you did in the Army. So I guess they're an intermediary, because you go to university and go, I did stuff in the Army, and they go, congratulations, we don't give a fuck. Whereas you have someone like Hamel, who've had prior experience in the Army, have an idea of what you mean when you say, I was a section commander. They understand that you're talking about small team management, time and space management, personnel management, yada, yada, yada. And they're able to break up these different skill sets into bite-sized chunks that they can then go into the Australian qualifications framework, line them up against all these different little competencies, and tell you what you can then pre-qualify for as a qualification, or what kind of stopgaps you can fill to then achieve a semi-decent qualification that you can then take to a university to get your credits and that sort of stuff. So you can go to Hamel and look at getting a certificate for in business, or where we've got management. So let's say you're a corporal in the infantry and you have done all of your promotional courses. You can then look at doing a workplace assessor, where is that certificate for in assessment and workplace training, or here's one, TAA or TAE, certificate for in training and assessment, or a certificate for in training and assessment with different course code, or the other one would be a diploma of management. So you can have the majority of the skill sets qualify for one of those particular qualifications and then go to the university, especially with a diploma, go to university and essentially get credits which will then allow you to avoid doing all of the electives and that sort of stuff. So you may complain, oh, I have to spend money on going to this other registered training organisation in order to get a qualification to then take to university. Yes, that is the case, but if you look at the average cost of university courses, so your units and that sort of stuff, you will actually save money by slapping down a diploma in front of them and getting credits rather than working through all of the courses individually. So it's a bit of a pain, but it is something that you can do. Anyway, after saying all that, where are we? Feel free to have a look at the Australian Student Veterans Association. So that was the asva.org.au. I need to probably research it a bit more, but they look like a professional outfit. They look like they're really trying to do something useful for young veterans and older veterans who are looking to get a university education. And they could probably do with some support, so check them out. So, and moving on, so now we've got some news. The Pineapple Express on Facebook is currently dead in its current form. We managed to have a chat to one of the admins via the memes, and they basically described a fairly significant banning activity occurred. So all relevant pages got shut down, couldn't access the page, couldn't view messages, couldn't post, and their personal accounts were blocked from starting any other kind of pages, etc., like fairly comprehensive sort of stuff. So for the foreseeable future, the Pineapple Express is dead and is probably not coming back. As a few people have stated on our Facebook posts, yes, there is a TPE on Instagram. We're trying to not say anything about that so as not to attract crabs, but people can't help themselves, I guess. So yeah, jump onto Instagram, you'll find them pretty easily, and good luck. I was going to do a story, but I think we're blowing out time here, plus I can't think of anything funny. Moving on to the Homeless Initiative. So that is run by Shifty, and he is trying to raise funds to make swags for the homeless. So where is your fund me? bitch. Show me. Work. Alright. GoFundMe. He's basically looking at getting a pack. Looks like it's some sort of waterproof type backpack. Hopefully it's designed as something that just looks like a backpack, not like a massive swag, which is good for your average homeless bloke to not look, super homeless. So he's got a fairly optimistic goal of $50,000. So far he's got $3,654 raised. I think he was working with some people from RMIT. Don't quote me on that. Oh, you son of a bitch. Where is it? I've lost the page again. Hang on. We're going to bring it back. We're going to get there. Alright, so the GoFundMe is, that link does not help. So just Google homeless initiative pack and swag. He's got a GoFundMe set up, and Shifty, those of you that know Shifty, he's a good dude. He served 10 years in the Australian Army, went to Afghan twice. I'm just reading his bio he's got on the GoFundMe. I did not realise, but he said he's recently been medically discharged due to multiple injuries. His goal is to provide 100 plus homeless people with a large, durable, waterproof pack and swag to keep the donated items dry and clean this winter. All money raised will be going into providing the homeless with these packs and swags. I am currently collecting clothing donations, and he's hoping to provide the homeless with a set of clothes, basically. There are 22,789 homeless in Victoria alone, many with disabilities and drug and or alcohol dependency, or are just down on their luck trying to get back on their feet. And it's a pretty sad state of affairs, and I'm going to say there's probably a few of those would be Army veterans as well, so it'd be good to get behind this. He finishes off by saying, having served in the infantry for 10 years, I know how much of a difference a good swag pack and some dry clothes can make to your life. So he's just trying to make some basic, good, honest, practical help for people. So if you can, jump on his GoFundMe and give him some cash. I think I said this a while back, but I've got to come up with some sort of, probably a sticker idea that will sell through the shop, and then proceeds from that will go to the GoFundMe as well. So yeah, have a look at that. And I think we're getting to the end of things here. So I think last time I did a bit of a shout out to some people. Why not do it again? Also, if you are listening to this and you are running, I don't know, a meme page, a small business, you are trying to be a mad competitor and knock off Belligerent Digger from its huge pedestal, whatever you're trying to do, just get in contact with us and we'll happily shout you out. Always happy to support everyone else in the game here. So yeah, where are we? So if you've got questions for the next podcast, email them to carl@belligerentdigger.com or jump on any of the social medias. Also, who have we got here? Have a look at RAAF Edinburgh Post Office. They stock our PT gear. Have a look at Max Force Tactical. They stock our PT gear. And someone else. TheCoreShop.com. Check them out. Have a look at Baseplate Photography. It's run by a former workmate of mine. Used to be a Mortimer, and he does some real nice landscape photos. Cody's Art. He's a 6 RER dig, and he's done some artwork for Belligerent Digger. He's also had his cartoons put into the Army Rag, which is awesome. There's a good group called Help a Digger Out. You can apply to join that group, and it's just digs posting stuff to help each other out. You know, available jobs, just stuff to help out. So they're good people. Have a look at Second Rodeo. That's another Queensland-based dig who's doing some lifestyle clothing for your country music-minded types. Have a look at Tack Mud. Tack Mud does the mud model kit that you've probably seen on social media. We're stocking his new super kit, which should be coming out next week. Who else we got? 50/50 Knives. Check him out on Facebook, and he's more active on Instagram, 50/50, or just 50/50. I don't know. Check it out. And Aaron Pegram, Dr. Pegram from the Australian War Memorial, has written some fantastic history pieces for us in the past, and has just done a book fairly recently, and I believe we're going to be trying to do a giveaway with him if he remembers, and you should just give him a follow on Facebook and I think on Instagram. He's a really good dude. Anyway, I think that'll about do it. Cheers guys, see you next time.